Hello, people! Welcome to Kweshunga. My name is Penelope Sanyu, and I am your awesome host. As always, I am so delighted that you have chosen to spend time with us, listening, learning, getting inspired, playing, all those things. Eish, I hope you're fine. I hope you're really, really fine. And so I am very, very, very optimistic that by the time we are done with this particular episode, your life will be different. Yes, your life will be different. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe if you haven't. Share the link with other people to subscribe. Leave us comments in the comment section. And I want to thank, at this moment, before we even begin, Agandi Studios. Thank you guys for making me look dope. Always. Thank you for doing that thing. I appreciate you, and I am glad that we are doing this together. Now, we have spent time dealing with emotions and going through feels and things and learning about grief and pain and loss, and we are crowning it all up with another episode on pain and grief and loss and managing our mental health after loss. And I am excited that the person doing this session is not just my friend, they are also a person I can ably say they are dealing with their mental health really, really well. They do the things that make you do the thing that does the thing that keeps you alive. I just rhymed, but okay. My friend is none other than Racheal, and I am so excited to host her today. Racheal is from the Vessel Is Me, but I will allow her to tell us about herself so that we can delve in and understand what it is we can do to take care of ourselves better so that we are living better lives after we have experienced loss or grief. Racheal, thou art welcome to Kweshunga.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Penny, for inviting us as Vessel and me as Racheal. I'm thrilled.
When people say I'm thrilled,
Yeah.
no, listen, let me turn down my energy so that I match us.
Yes,
Because
I am a Giziwe Racheal. Vessel is me. I always tell people I'm the face of Vessel Is Me. Yes. First contact person when you call Vessel Is Me. You have been on the show, Kweshunga, and Vessel Is Me is a psychosocial support-giving organization for parents who have gone through pregnancy, infant loss. We offer support to both ladies and gentlemen. Because a baby is made by two, a man and a woman. So it is for the entire couple, and that is basically what we do. When you call the Vessel line, I am the person you talk to first.
the voice behind the phone.
Yeah, I don't know if I look like the voice, but that is me. So I offer peer-to-peer counseling. I'm currently a student, a grief coach student, to better offer support to the people we are dealing with. So, that is me. Besides that, I'm a mother of 4, 3 living and 1 passed. So, I've dealt with grief from, I've lost infant loss. I have conceived after loss. So, when Penny tells you dealing with grief and pregnancy after loss, I've walked the journey, and then I offer support about that journey as well.
Interesting. So many things you have said there. Too much English. You people, I didn't go to those dope schools that speak dope English, but she has said many things in there. I want to center right now on your story, your journey. You said you have lost, you have been pregnant after loss, and other things along that line. What is Racheal's story?
So I conceived for my 3rd born, and like any other pregnancy, it was an awesome pregnancy. There's nothing really to worry about. Everything went on well up until 8 months and a half. I went to hospital, and it was one of those days when you don't feel so fine. But there was nothing to worry about. The doctor carried out an HIV check. Till today, I don't know why.
Why?
Because we had gone through this test and many other tests, and he said, you're fine. We went back home. A few days later, the movements weren't at the very best. Though my dates, as the pregnancy grows, dates keep changing back and forth. But I was expecting to give birth anytime. Then a Saturday, I went to hospital. I didn't feel the baby movements so well, but the doctor said I was well.
You were okay.
So I went back home. Everything was fine. My partner had to go for a trip, which he went the following day. But on Monday morning, I couldn't feel the baby move. The activity of the baby
had stopped.
Wasn't as it was.
Yeah.
So I went into hospital on Monday. The doctor says, let's do a scan. And we scan, and he says, the heartbeat is there. It's as if it's there, but the baby is well. So I didn't really worry much because he said, the baby's well. He's the doctor.
And 8 months, you're almost due.
We were basically into 9 months. For us, we count what we count, but the weeks count. But it was basically 9 months. So we go to the doctor's office, and I asked him, so what next? He's like, so we can have the baby or wait 2 weeks later. I'm like, so you're the doctor here.
What do you advise?
I do not know. What do we do?
Yeah.
Like, so we are going to have the baby. I'm like, okay. Well, so what happens? I wasn't in labor.
Yeah.
And I had labored before, and I wasn't in labor. So they induced me. For the first time, they put an IV on me to induce me and have the baby. Induction was put. There was not much pain. But then I had been told, when you're asthmatic, your pains are not as... And I had never really had those crazy labor pains.
Yeah.
But I really didn't feel anything much. They kept checking. I had dilated a bit. They kept checking. I had dilated a bit. So this is running an IV from midday. By 3, there's nothing.
And this whole time, there are no birth pangs, there are no...
No. There was a little, but nothing significant that you can say, this is pain.
Yeah.
So by 4, we go back to the scan. The doctor tells me the baby's tired. We are going to theater. I'm like, wait.
What has worn the baby
So
out?
I had never gone to theater for any surgery.
Yeah.
Neither of my sisters. So I called my big sisters. I'm like, people, I'm going to theater. I called my mom. I called my partner who was not around, was up country, going to theater. So it was a shock to everyone.
Yeah.
But I had to go to theater. So I was prepared, waited for my big sister to come through. They took me to theater. Baby was out in a few minutes, I think about 5 or less. Baby was out. She cried, a little girl. I'm like, I had left everything set in the room, how I wanted her to be dressed and what. My baby was wrapped, given to my sister. They cleared me, like closed me up and everything. So as I'm getting they're wheeling me out of theater, the doctor tells me this baby's tired. She needs to go to a NICU.
What's that?
A neonatal ward. Yeah, where they put little babies, preemies, sick babies. Yeah. So in my mind, I knew the NICU is around the corner where I was. But my baby had to be driven out of the hospital I was in to another hospital.
That's weird.
Yeah. So all this time, the doctor was trying to get in touch with another doctor across town in Rubaga who had NICU facilities. Eventually, he was able to get a hold of her. And then my sister, with a nurse, sat in my sister's car, not her private car, not an ambulance.
Yeah.
And they
with
were
a baby.
With a baby. They were pumping the nurse was pumping something in the nose to give her oxygen. Those hours between 8 in the evening jam crossing from Ntinda to Rubaga in a private car. You're taking a baby who needs to go on oxygen and
you're not in an ambulance.
You're closed up in a car and what? Yeah. So, and I never thought anything would happen. We're in a hospital.
Yeah, but you were also nursing the wound from theater.
Yes.
And
yeah.
a lot is going on. Yeah.
They cross over. My sister tells me they got the other side. I think about 11 or so. Baby was put on oxygen. And for me, I knew everything is fine. We're okay. So in the night, I asked. My sister keeps calling. The one who took the baby came back to sleep with me because my other sister was heavy. And mommy wasn't here. So she comes back like, yeah, they've put her on oxygen. She's well, she's strong, she's, pulling it on really well. I was at peace. In the morning, about 5, I woke up I was very anxious, very uneasy.
Yeah, where's my baby?
I asked my sister, have you heard from Shona? How is she? And so she tells me, let me call. I think that's the time my daughter passed. Till today, I feel that's the time she passed. Whatever they told her, my sister came back in the room. She's like, yeah, she's fine. Let me get ready. I go take my son to school, then go and pick her. But I looked at my sister and there was some kind of...
The body language wasn't speaking to what she was saying.
She got out. She had parked right outside the room. Anyone who knows her, she's the calmest driver I know. But the way she started that car, I'm like, wait, what's not happening? But she said the baby's fine. So they went. 7 a.m., the nurses came, they worked on me. They were running meds on me. I kept asking, where's my baby?
How is my baby?
At around 9 a.m., people start coming in.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yes, I had a baby. But people are coming in.
Why are people coming?
When people come in,
they're feeling sorry for you without feeling sorry for you.
They're not telling you what is actually happening.
Yeah.
They're giving you this look. And you're like, probably because
they
cut me. Because they cut me. And,
yeah, it's mixed emotion.
Yeah. Until at some point, I'm like, but you guys, where's my child?
Baby?
I'm going to get off this bed. I'll pull out this cannula. I find my baby. They will stitch me again. That's when a nurse, they sent in a male nurse, so I hadn't seen. So he came and stood beside the bed. Racheal, we did everything possible, but when he reached my mind registered that this baby is dead. So whatever else he said,
he didn't register at all. Yeah,
so I was like, I need to talk to the doctor.
Yeah.
So the doctor came in at about 11 to tell me, Racheal, I think you've heard what happened and what do you want? I'm like, I want to see my child.
Yeah.
I was like, are you sure you do? And I said, I do.
It's my child. I gave birth to this child.
So I had to break the news to the father. So I called. I'm like, hey, Shona is normal. You okay? I'm like, yeah, she's normal. Because also he hadn't been told. So I broke the news and So one of my child's auntie went and brought the body. She came carrying this little girl so well. And she's one person I'll always say thank you to. She really honored my child. She carried her like a live baby, came and handed her over to me. I spent with my daughter a whole hour. When they gave her to me, I unwrapped her, looked at her, changed the overall she was putting on. Actually, I think a week ago, I saw the overall she was putting on the very first time. I still have it. I opened her up, picked another overall, had her dressed up. I removed the cap on the head, looked at her hair. Like I looked at my baby.
Yeah.
Fully. By then, my mother had arrived. She had come from Hoima. Everyone knew before me.
Before you knew.
So people arrived before me, my late uncle's wife. Like people were there. My friends knew. Everyone knew. So they were there. So I looked at my baby, spent about a whole hour. I spent a whole hour with my baby. She hadn't really darkened yet. She was still very light, but very cold. I asked the auntie to take pictures. She was like, "Are you sure you want them?" I'm like, "Yeah." She took the pictures. And back then I didn't know that was also grief process.
Yeah.
But I thank God she when I asked, she did.
She did it.
She took the pictures and she told me, "I'll give them to you when you're ready."
Yeah.
So I looked at her, and at that point, a female nurse entered. She came and covered her the head. I looked at the woman, I'm like, "Friend, what's your problem?" "Yeah, I have to prepare the body." I'm like, "No, this is my daughter."
Baby. Yeah.
So I think she read the body language on my face, and she realized I was really irritated and stepped out. So I stayed with my child until the grandmother called and said they should bring the body. They're going for burial. So I handed her over to my mom. My mom and my same sister.
You couldn't go for the burial.
No,
You've just had a C-section.
Yeah.
And
so my mom and my sister, the one I had slept with in hospital, the one who had driven across town to take the body, had to drive my mom to the burial ground. Yeah. My mom carried my baby all through. The one thing I still remember about that time when Mom came back, when they reached somewhere, one of the relatives, the other side, asked, "Aren't you scared? You give us the body and put it in the boat." That cut for me. My mother is like, "No, this is my grandchild. Dead or alive, I'll carry her till besides how many kilograms are here." So they went, buried. The father was the other side, so he was coming from up country, so went to where they buried, had everything said. They buried, and yeah, they came back. Then that was the beginning of the journey.
Yeah.
The other one hadn't even started.
The pain hadn't sunk and what, yeah. And so that's why I wanted to ask from then, like, how then now the Racheal we see, how do we cope from, I have the scar, I have the wound, both physical and emotional, I don't have a baby. How do we heal? How do we move from then on?
Not at that point. I had a sister expecting a daughter. I had a cousin sister expecting a daughter. I had a friend expecting. I had a friend who had a baby. They were all in my space. The three were having daughters.
And you've just lost a daughter. Yeah.
So, one, people would avoid to tell me news of so-and-so has given birth.
Yeah.
Even when my sister was in labor, they didn't want to tell me. Now, for me, it was an offense.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm supposed to know these things. But for me, them, they thought they were protecting me. Now, that entire time, I didn't know what this grief thing was about.
Yeah, because
I wanted to really talk about my child.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk.
But no one wants to listen.
People kept telling me to keep quiet.
Yeah.
But there was one person, till today, I still say thank you. She's called Diana Ndege. If she's a Jubilee agent, one of the best Jubilee agents. She had lost her son, I think a year or a few months ago. I had only met her on social media through a group called BMM, Beautiful Modern Mothers. She reached out and she told me, she asked me where I stay, and she said, "I need to come and see you." She was staying much that side as you go to, where is that referral hospital of ours?
Mulago.
The other side of Machindi.
Oh,
Chirudu, that side.
Buziga
That's why she was saying, that side of Machindi. She came to Ntinda, came to my home, and for the first time, that is the person who told me, "Racheal, I have
Talk about
come."
your child.
Actually, she said it in Luganda. Nzize tokabe.
Oh.
So long as you don't do anything to yourself, my shoulder is right here.
Yeah.
I am here. I've come for us to cry.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about our children. We are going to mourn. We are going to cry. No one should tell you not to cry.
Yeah.
I am here. That was the first
That is so sweet.
person.
That is so sweet.
That was the first person
who gave
me
validation
permission. I should actually
they validated your pain.
Yeah, for me it felt like someone has given me permission to let out my emotions.
Yeah.
She stayed the entire day. After she left, I felt different.
Yeah.
Because I was able to talk to someone who gets it. Like, who gets
They're
that.
not pitying you. They are
not saying you're over. Not
condemning
in 2 weeks.
you
In 2
in any
weeks,
way.
I
Yeah.
had lost so much weight.
Yeah.
Because when you'd cry, tell you stop. You'll have other kids. You're still young. You're what?
That they won't be this one.
It was, but for the first time, and she brought me 2 books to read. Those were the first books, about grief. I never knew there was anything about grief. She gave me 2 books. She told me, whenever you're ready. You don't have to read them now, but whenever you're ready. And she told me my phone
is always
available. It doesn't matter what time, what hour, call. Reach out.
Wow.
For me, that is the person who set the person I am today.
Yeah.
So everyone else kept rubbishing it. It's like, you're overdoing it, you're over talking about it, till today people think we over talk about grief when we lose children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked for help. There was
because you see that the way we are socialized in Africa or even elsewhere, I don't want to say, I can speak for Uganda because that's where I'm from, but the way we are socialized is jump on quickly from the pain. Like, don't dwell. We are taught to move on quickly. Your heart is broken, move on to another thing tomorrow. Find something to replace it. A child has died, no. Have sex, make another baby, replace that one. My phone has been stolen, go buy a new phone, buy a new line, replace.
Yeah.
And so we are constantly in a rush to move on. We don't stop to feel. We don't stop to see and hear. We don't stop to deal. And I'm glad your friend gave you the opportunity to stop and feel and cry and know that your pain is valid. Yeah.
So amidst all that, there was nowhere to lean.
Yeah.
And at that time, every time you would log onto social media, there was a child dying. Yeah. There was a mother dying. There was so much death looming.
Maternal mortality rates
and it felt
really
like,
high.
What is this? And then I put myself on pressure because I needed to have another child.
Yeah.
I needed a replacement.
Because they also tell you, get pregnant. If you've had a miscarriage, get pregnant immediately so that you're not...
Yeah.
It's always a fix for something, quickly.
You see, one thing I didn't say, before I left hospital, there is a family member who came with her babies. One baby was a few months old, about 3 months old, and a little girl. And she came to see me when my baby was buried the previous evening, and she said, people were laughing at the burial, and I looked at this lady and like,
why are you telling me this?
And even, why did you come with your children? Who tells you want to see kids? And I had a friend, I have one of my constants.
I've just lost my baby.
I have one of my constants, my friend who has been in my life for a very long time. Mm-hmm. She had a baby then until I asked her to bring for me her baby. Mm. She could come from Entebbe every day for 2 weeks, but she never carried her baby. Mm. So this person came. As a woman, I felt defeated.
Yeah.
I felt like a failure. I'm like, she has her children, and for me, mine is dead, and she's here with her baby. It was spite for me when she came with her kids. And even when I went home, she kept coming until my mom was like, you know what? Let me take you to your sister. She took me away for a while because she saw the emotional toll it was taking on me. And this person was just next to me. She didn't say far from me. For me, that was torture. I felt like a failure as a woman, like I have failed. Yeah. So I put a pressure upon myself to have a child. And then there was so much going on. This one is telling you, I don't know when the baby was dying. For me, I felt a struggle in my body. This one, so many things were going around. There was a person who said because that kid wasn't ours, it was out of infidelity, so that's why the baby died. There was so much going on. And you know, until something like that happens to you, you'd not know the insensitiveness with so much insensitiveness outside there. People will say whatever they feel like. But the one thing we always keep telling people, if you have nothing good to say, keep quiet.
Yeah.
Presence is very important. Someone just coming and telling you, I am here. That is enough.
Yeah.
You don't want them to say anything. At times you just want to turn and you're like, Penny is here.
Yeah.
That is all. So for me, it was a season of, I resorted to comfort eating. And I put on weight. I ate.
Comfort food. I am those people.
My love for chicken, short. So I ate so much junk. But then I also wanted to give birth. So between that loss and when I conceived for another child, I also had 2 miscarriages along the way. Because I was under pressure to replace. So my body didn't rest.
Yeah.
So I miscarried twice. Then the other, which remained, when I went to the hospital, they told me it's a boy child. I disconnected. I wanted a girl.
Because you wanted a girl to replace Shona, right?
Yeah. So here in my womb, there is a little boy growing. I disconnected. And not only that, but I felt like, also this one I'm going to lose anytime. So that put a strain the other side on the relationship. That was another strain. My personal life, I was in a lot of mess. But the biggest reason is I hadn't dealt. I hadn't grieved. My body hadn't healed. My soul hadn't healed. My emotions hadn't healed. And then I was carrying
Another child. Yeah.
So I was a very rude human being. I was rude. I would shout at anything. Everything annoyed me. I would quarrel at anything. I was bitter. I was an angry woman. Very angry. Very angry because I was angry at everyone in the whole world.
Yeah.
But as this pregnancy grew, my pressures shot because of the fear.
So your hypertension was high as well.
So this baby also comes as a preemie. So there is grief undealt, miscarriage undealt.
Now you have a premature.
Yeah. So
and
there
you're
is
dealing with a difficult relationship with your partner.
Yeah. So
and there are other kids before this one who are abandoned also because you're neglecting them at this point.
Yeah. So there is so much grief undealt. But this is a person. I'm moving in the world.
Yeah.
In all that, not someone's mental health is not at stake. Like you're not at 100. I'm not thinking like anyone else.
Yes.
But the world will judge you like anyone else.
How they see you.
You just lost a child. Someone tells you, I mean, you didn't connect. You're lucky this one didn't grow. Yeah, people say those things of like, maybe God saved you. That kid would have had a defect on the heart. And you're like, did I tell you I didn't have energy to take care of them? So people give you all their unsolicited.
They are projecting also.
Yeah. So all this is happening. I didn't know I'm not at 100.
Yeah.
But I'm functioning, going on and going on. No one wants to talk about loss. But then, during that time, when someone would lose, people would reach out to you on Facebook. How did you manage? How did you manage? How did you manage?
How are you surviving? How are you alive? Yeah.
So back then, I didn't know talking to people, listening to them, going to see them was therapy, you know. But then that is what, you know, I found solace in that.
In talking.
Yeah, because I had gone through this without help, aside from Diana, who told me it's okay to talk. And then eventually, I read the books. And when I read the books, they were not from here. They opened your mind. They opened my mind.
Clarity comes.
Yeah, so I told myself, I'll offer myself to walk this journey with any woman who goes through this, because I looked for help and no one. And the people looked at it like it was a crazy thing to do. of like, when people tell you,
You're
so you leave thy child
overgrieving.
to rest, also you stop. So for me, whenever someone would reach out, because I had read those books, so I had a clearer understanding on how best to work with them. That's how I started the journey of working with people. Eventually, I got interested to go and, study grief coaching and what happened and all these other things, which are related to, pregnancy, infant loss, and waiting, because the loss in itself doesn't stop at the pregnancy has gone, the baby has gone. How then do you thrive after the loss? How do you still stand still and say, I walked the journey and I'm here?
And that's exactly where I want you to just, highlight for us, because I know we are not giving people 7 practical ways of dealing with grief or 10, 12, 15 laws of dealing with grief, but you as Racheal, what worked for you? I know you've mentioned talking about it, having to say what you felt, naming it. What else worked for you? How did you cope? Because mental health is important, and you were dealing with, like, everything was bombarding you from every side. Even this baby the baby boy that you had later is a reminder that you lost a girl before them. So you're not loving them enough. You're not giving of yourself enough. How did Racheal survive that season? How did Racheal cope? What are the practical things she did and is still doing to help other women cope?
So for starters, one thing one should always know, grief is not a linear process. It is full of waves and birds. You can go through those emotions in 1 hour and you're back at 0. But of course, there are very many different practical things one could do to, to live with it, to learn to live with it. Talk therapy is one of them. You can talk and talk and talk. It's okay to talk about your baby, by the way.
It is.
No one is going to stop you. That child is yours. If you miscarried, it is name your child. That child was there. Identify that they were there. Identify them. Have something hanged up in honor, in memory of them.
Because you're an angel mom now.
Say, I have little shoes which were supposed to be for my little girl. They are framed somewhere. Whenever I look at them, they are there. If you're having children, if you have children before, and these kids saw you pregnant, so you ought to tell them that your sibling was here and they left because they also grieve. So it's very important to let the children know what happened.
What happened?
We seem to close it off
because we think they won't understand.
One time I found a note of my daughter. She had my first child. She had written, "The saddest day of my life. I lost my sister. My parents didn't tell me."
Aww.
That broke my heart. So it's very important to tell the other kids. Find something to to raise. If you're a pet person, get a pet. Raise it in honor of your child. If it's a plant, at Vessel we give plants because you have something to wake up to every single morning to take care of. If you are a lover of ink like me, I inked myself. I tattooed my baby's name on me. And for me, it was going through the pain of the ink on my body to feel the pain with my child, but to always carry her along wherever I go. Journal, it's okay to write about your child. Write about your child. But no one should stop you. That child was yours.
It's your experience.
In death, in life,
story.
in what. And also, I'll tell people will tell you, you're not reading the Bible enough. You're not praying because you're holding on to the dead.
Where is your faith?
But I'm going to take you back to Ruth. When Ruth, in the book of Ruth, when a husband was lost, sons were lost, and when they moved, Naomi moved with Ruth. Even when Ruth went to glean, they never told us she stopped grieving. She gleaned as she grieved. So also us, as we are moving on, we are going to grieve as we move on. God only knows at what point he'll get you here. I don't know at what point I got here that I no longer cry when I talk about her, but I can only say it is God. So people who hide that, where is your faith, you can't grieve. People don't lie about our God. Even we grieve with our God. It's okay to have Jesus and a therapist.
Yeah.
For me, that's one thing I'll always tell any Christian, and one thing I'll leave with a person who has lost a pregnancy and miscarriage. It is okay to have a therapist and have God.
Yeah.
Jesus and a therapist, it's okay. It doesn't make you less of a Christian or less of a believer. Your grief is valid.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Racheal, I don't even know how to wrap this up. I honestly don't. I don't know how to wrap this up because I feel like she has put all the episodes that we've had previously into one big summary, and grief is not linear. They've said it. Racheal said it. Juliet said it. She has said it. We don't stop grieving. We don't stop grieving. And so don't beat yourself up for feeling the things that you feel. And sometimes grief will creep up on you when you least expect it. Some days you'll be having a good day and you will see something and it will remind you of the loss that you have had, the loss you're experiencing. Stop and grieve. Acknowledge that emotion. Sit with it. Deal with it. And find a way to cope. Talk to a therapist. They're not shrinks. Talk to a therapist. If your therapy is plants, go and do gardening. If your therapy is play, come and we kweshunga. If your therapy is music, go and listen to music. Just don't die alone. Don't die alone, because as we have heard in the previous episodes, we are not alone. We are all carrying grief in some way, in one way or another. And there are different other forms of grief that we haven't even talked about. This whole time we've been talking about loss of children, loss of pregnancies, and we're talking about loss of different other things. But I want you to know that you're not alone. You're cared for. You are loved. And I'm going to give Racheal one opportunity to say one last word, and then we'll wrap this up. And hopefully we can have more people talking about grief and being open about it, and also helping other people deal and cope with it. So Racheal, one last word to our viewers and listeners.
Thank you so much, Penny, for reaching out and bringing this out. This is a topic which is not talked about.
Yeah.
But I'd want to tell someone out there who has a friend, a relative, someone they know in their neighborhood who is dealing with pregnancy, infant loss, who is in the waiting season, who is going through secondary infertility. Don't be hard on them. It is okay not to be okay, but then it's also okay to seek for help. And remember, you are not alone. If people around you don't know what to do, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah.
We are here to hold your hand, to walk this journey with you. We are not promising it's going to be easy, but we are here to walk this journey with you. And always remember, Jesus loves you.
They say Jesus loves you. I shall not say Jesus loves you because you know that he does. I just want to appreciate the Agandi Studios. I want to appreciate Vessel Is Me. I want to appreciate the Kweshunga team. I want to appreciate the Endo Foundation Uganda. I want to appreciate Juliet, all the people that I have hosted that have trusted us with their grief stories and their loss stories. I am grateful. I am so thankful. And for all of you who are out there that are dealing with loss and grief, you know that you can write to Kweshunga and we will help you find a way to cope in one way or another. If we can't, we will connect you to someone who will. Mbagalanyo. You know how they say in Luganda? Mbagalanyo. Yes, I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Please take care of your health, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. We want you to be alive so that you can question that. Till next time.